You're welcome. No problem. I grew up on 70th and Broadway. Um, I went to John C. Fremont. That's where I went to high school. I had my first child while I was in high school. I did marry his father, and I had two other kids, total of three. Unfortunate, he got murdered as well in 2016 on El Segundo and Central. So I've been going through a lot of tragedies. You know, I had a brother that was also murdered. So it's been a lot, but I'm good this day. And he went to school in LA schools, and he was a good kid. He was a good kid. I never really like had problems with him, or going in and out of jail. That was not my situation. He did, he had, he had his normal kids issue like any other kid, you know. But as far as me, I had my upbringing was pretty good. Lived a normal life, you know. He was a jokester. He was definitely into sports. He excelled in football. He was a very well liked and manable kid. He was in church. He won a lot of activities while, he participated in like running for king and different things of that sort in our church, and he won. He was a big influence on a lot of the young people. And he was a very well-liked kid. He was very well-liked. Well, while we were growing up, Arthur was in a pretty good neighborhood. We didn't really have a lot of encounter, like being affiliated like with gang activity, even though we were right in the center of it. But until he got to his teenage years is when it became a problem for him. When he started being like truly approached. Arthur was a well-known kid because of his sports. He was not a scary kid at all. He was little, like a little kid, and sometimes he was picked on, so he would fight. After folks know he could fight, he began to get a lot of challenges. He would get, a lot of people would challenge him. But as far as really, 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 I always tried to move somewhere I wasn't so much in the heart of all the activity, but unfortunate throughout LA, that's is gang, there's gangs everywhere. I don't care where you move to. It is what it is.
It's a pandemic.
My brother was killed in 79, right there off of which at the time was King Boulevard. He was killed over there. Like I said, my first husband was killed on El Segundo and Central, pumping gas. And then, unfortunate, my son, and so I chose to get up out of LA at that point. You know what I'm saying? It was just like a little too much for me. So I had to pack up to go. That was in 1979. And that was my brother. Him and I shared the same father. And I watched my mom age. He was 19 years old, same age my son was killed. And I watched my mom age 10 years. I could just like remember when we got that information and found out what had happened. And it was on my mom's birthday, and she was out of state. And when by the time she got where she was arriving out of state, this had happened. So by the time she was walking up, the people that where she was going, our relatives, they already knew. And she said it was just like a really bad experience. She had to turn around and come back on the airplane. And we tried to meet her at the airport, um, for me to have experienced it now, I totally know what my mom was going through then, you know. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. So basically, Arthur has a son. We later found out after he passed that he had two sons. But the one that he had, that he spent a lot of time with, born 2015. After Arthur had this child, I was really, him and his dad, myself and his dad, was trying to instill in him, you're a father now. There's changes, different things you have to do. And he understood it. He understood it. The morning, the day I last spoke with my son, he came in there and he asked, Mom, can you keep Amir? And Arthur was about to graduate, get his diploma in 2 months. So I had kind of like really, been really strict on him because this was something I really wanted him to accomplish. And I said, why don't you go ask your dad? So he went and asked his dad. His dad said, yeah. He said, I want you back by 7. At the time, we was living in Carson. We was living in Carson. He was going to go do a video with one of his friends that was the rapper, a guy that was a rapper. And I met him a couple times. Actually, the guy included in his song Arthur in it. But he went to shoot this video with this guy. I don't know, sometimes if it was a motherly instinct or what it was, but my spirit told me to drive to LA to be sure that he make it back by the time his dad said he needed to be back. So I went to my sister's house, which was in Hawthorne, and we were sitting around. My god sister had just lost her mom, and we were kind of like talking about that and so on. And my niece, my oldest niece, she just started crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? She's like, I don't know. My phone had been dead, so I had it plugged up on the charger. So when I went to get my phone and I turned it on, and it was blue, blue, just going off. And it was a female friend of my son's. She called and she's like, Val. She's like, Val, Arthur been shot. And I'm like, where? And she's like, on 107th. And so me and my second oldest son, we jumped in the car and we heading there. And by the time I got possibly maybe to 108th and Van Ness, she called back and said, I think he's dead. So at that point, of course, I'm coming down 108th. I see all this stuff. I kind of like went blank. And it was a lot going on. The police approached me and it was like, can you tell these people that the police didn't shoot your son? And I was like, what? What's going on? It was apparently there had been another incident or whatever over there. And it's just the worst day of my life. It was the worst day of my life. That's all I can say. The worst, the worst, the worst. And you
Go
know,
ahead,
I
man.
got a copy of the police report. I think it got, what is it? The police says 19-year-old gunshot wound to the head. That's all it says. The police report.
No type of information whatsoever.
I never the detectives never really like would call back, and then you know, I was just trying to you know, I mean, what could we say? There was nothing. Supposedly it was a video. I asked to see the video. I never was able to see the video. That you know, the detective basically said it was no footage. You can just hear conversation or something he was saying. So, you know, I never got information on it. You know, it's unsolved murder.
And do they have any type of like leads or any type of sketches or anything about the suspects at all?
Basically, all I knew was that you know, it was kind of like a setup. Supposedly, some girls kind of lured him out because they said after the video shoot, they were over a friend's house that lived down the street, and a group of them walked to the little corner store or whatever it is that's in this little shopping center. And supposedly there was some girls in the car, you know, young men, they're flirting with him or whatever. And as they came out the parking lot, and my son came out and was walking wherever the car was, by the time he turned, the guys apparently had pulled up and he was shot, you know. Of course, there's like 19 different stories, but the one that you know, that I basically believe is that my son went across, you know, where he was killed at. He crossed that street from the from where they were getting these snacks, and you know, trying to talk to these girls. And when he turned, he was shot. And then the girl sped off, and this car made a right and sped off, going northbound on Western. And supposedly they shot at the other guy. It was another guy, a friend that was with Arthur. And he got shot too, but he didn't die. And that was it. That, you know, that's it.
May I
The
ask
end.
how did this affect you in these next and the following weeks? How did this affect his father? How did he interpret this thing?
His father really, really took it bad, hard. That was his only child. Um, he took it horribly. I mean, there was times I would hear him scream, you know, and unfortunate whatever and stuff. Like Arthur's father, you know, he came up like in a gang environment. Um, by the time we had met and got together, he had strayed away from that, you know. So for your child to be murdered from an environment that was of your past too, you know what I'm saying? It have to have torn him apart, and I'm sure, you know, it did, his only child. But you know, it is what it is. But I mean, you know, I come to realize there's so many other people that I come to know that's in that boat with me. I'm not the only one. You know, it's an academic for me. I feel like, because how can you know so many people within, we connected, and our children is murdered the same, because of where we live, or you know what I'm saying? I had a nephew that was just murdered. We just did a year for him, right there on 74th and Broadway. It's just an ongoing thing. It's academic. And by the grace of God, thank God I am anchored in Christ. It helps. I know one thing that I come to know is that anytime a mother, and I'm speaking from a mother's point of view, has lost her child, and I don't think nothing can fix it. You have to go through your emotions. You got to go through what you got to go through. And, nothing can make it better. You have to go through what you go through. I do believe that there's hope, and that going through the mess becomes more acceptable, that they're no longer there, becomes acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like Christmas. The first year is horrible. The second year is horrible. It's like as these holidays go past, especially that first year is the worst, because you have to adjust, the person's no longer there. And that was my baby. My oldest son is 45 years old. He took it horribly because Artie, which we called him Arthur. I mean, Artie, his name is Arthur. His dad is Arthur. And I named him Artie. So they both wouldn't say, huh? But he takes it hard. You know what I'm saying? He's like, Mom, that was like my son. I know it was, because y'all 20 years apart. Um, Arthur was my only child I had naturally. Everybody else I had by cesarean. Why my last child I was able to have naturally, I have no idea. Only God knows. Just like only God knows why he chose to leave him here for 19 years. So I had good friends. I had good family members that truly, truly supported me. The thing about it is that I started kind of like getting myself involved with others that was in the same situation with me. I kind of like went to like they have different programs healing parents of murdered children. Different things of that sort. We did a walk last year in LA down Broadway in reference to this. It's, I could remember supporting another friend of mine's that her son was murdered 2 years prior to my son. And her son was on this billboard, and all these kids were murdered children. And now my son's on that board, And I don't know, by the grace of God, because every day I think about my son every day, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day, but I have to realize, and then I had his children. Already had a son, and then I found out later he had another son. And I keep up with those too, so that helps me seeing my son and his sons. I
Wow.
see them. So that helps. and talking about him, sharing his stories, with his children. Um, it gives me so much joy. Arthur was the light of our family. He was a comedian. He was funny, very athletic. You know what I'm saying? He was well loved. He was well loved. Even by enemies loved him. You know what I'm saying? Uh, um, my son, um, his children. Now, certain territories you're not supposed to cross and this, that. Why he got two kids on from a woman from a different territory he should not be affiliated with. You know what he told me? Mama, those my friends. I'm like, okay. So it's just crazy. It's crazy, but it is what it is. And I do accept it for what it is. And I just try to, every day is a struggle. I'll put it that way. Every day is a struggle. The one of the guys that's from Texas, um, he when we found out about his murder, I think I want to say they were all like within 2 years, maybe. Um, the thing it was the let me see, my son was murdered October 2016. I think the boy in Texas might have been early that year or 2000, the end of 2015. And then my son was murdered, and then the other boy, he died like maybe 9 months later. It was just it's a sad thing, but it's what do you want to say? Living in LA, California, but no, because the other boy was murdered in Texas. So you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's just sad. 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 That's just like with me. I used to live on 108th in Van Ness. When Arthur was murdered, I was living in Carson. I moved from over there because my son knew, he knew. He's like, Mom, I don't want to live nowhere around here, and because he did tell me, he was like, a lot of them, he's been approached, he was being approached to get involved, it was like, you got hands, and he told me personally, he said no. He said that he did not want us to live in LA anymore. And so I just hated, sometimes you should follow your first mind. I was going to literally move to Moreno Valley, where I am now. And I ended up moving to Carson and wanted to wait 2 years. And that's what I ended up waiting 2 years and end up my son getting murdered. Wow. But
I'm
it
so
is what it
sorry
is.
about that, Valencia.
It is what it is. Yeah. I would ask that person, for what? Why would you go out and go murder, senseless murder? For what? How do you think your family would feel? I would literally ask him, how do you think your family would feel? Would you want your family to feel what you're about to create upon someone else? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, things happen and sometimes we get involved in things that we didn't meant for this to happen. Sometimes murders are accidental. You know what I'm saying? But if you literally gonna pick up a gun and your purpose is to go shoot somebody, you need much prayer, because I don't understand, the mind frame these people are when they could just kill senseless. I don't know. I don't know. Someone once asked me if I knew the person and knew for sure this person killed my son, could I walk up to him and literally shoot him? And I always ask myself that question. I truly do. Could I do it? You know
Would
what
you?
I'm saying? I don't know. I always wondered, it's a difference of assuming, when you don't know somebody did it. But if you knew that this person murdered your child and he's sitting right there, could you pick up a gun and shoot him? And I always ask myself that. Could I do it? I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I really don't know if I could or not. And so sometimes I try to think and say, maybe people that murders, they feel that someone did them like that. They took them to a place there. You know what I'm saying? And maybe, I don't know, maybe they feel that if they took my sister or my brother, I could take their sister and their brother and they feel what I feel. You know what I'm saying? But still, I cannot say that I can't do it. I wouldn't do it. I don't know. And that's the honest truth. I don't know. If
No,
I that question was asked of me, and my answer to it is I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I am a Christian woman. I know it would have to be something that I would have to put a lot of thought to, but at the spur of the moment or something of that sort, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I could. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a vicious person, but if someone has hurt me in a way, do and I have the opportunity to make that person feel what I feel or their family or whatever, would I take the opportunity? And that's just a question that I've always tussed with, because I don't know if I could or not. I don't. You know what I'm saying? That bothers me. That truly bothers me. And that just let me know how broken and how hurt I am. Not only broken, but angry. Angry because it was senseless. You know what I'm saying? And at this point right now, I feel like all these loved ones in my life was murdered senseless. You know what I'm saying? No reasons. And um, it could put you in a negative space or whatever, but it is what it is. I just pray to God that um, I always pray to remove harsh and ill feelings of my heart, because I never want to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, I want to be able to have compassion and sympathy for a person, like I did with the guy that murdered my husband. But I don't feel that with the boy that they say that killed my child. I don't feel that for him.
if
No, I
if
don't. If I could speak to that individual, I would ask him, What did my son do to you for you to want to murder him? And I still, that's the answer I want. I want that question answered. Was you and my son beefing? Do you know him? You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's a lot of questions. Um, I always wonder if the guy knew him, or was this a random killing? Those are questions, yeah. Only thing that they could tell us is that the guys is probably was gang related, and that the girls is used for bait to bring guys out for them to do what they do. That's what I'm told. And it's
Do you
crazy.
feel that they
No,
went above and beyond
no,
to try to help you?
no, I don't. First of all, you ain't went no beyond if you ain't even talked to me. You know what I'm saying? I talked to these detectives. First of all, they lied. Let's just start there. They lied. The first thing when we came up, the guy asked me, I said, how do I know that's my son? He said he's been identified by his driver's license. That's a lie. I got his driver's license at home. He didn't have his driver's license on him. Number one lie. Number two, after I got the autopsy, and I paid extra because I wanted to know if my son was tripping. Was he on drugs? Was he, you know what I'm saying? We all know they take the syrup and they this, that, whatever. Well, guess what? He was not. So let me know he was in his right mind. He was in his right mind. I asked them for the phone that he had. They lied and said that they gave the phone to the phone with him with the coroners. The coroner said no, the detectives has it. I don't understand those little games like that. You know what I'm saying? And it may be something that they probably used to. You know what I'm saying? Because my understanding, there's so many deaths between 108th and 107th in Western that it's like a normal thing for them. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't feel like that. I don't know. I don't. I don't feel like they've done. I don't think they've even looked into those murders. And I guarantee you, I know for a fact that it's been over 7, 8 murders since my son died. I I don't believe that they have resolved any of them. I don't believe they've resolved any murders. You know, um, how do they determine that there should be a ward, or how was a ward given for anyone connected to this? It was too many people out there. You know what I'm saying? It was too many people for you guys to have not gotten more information that you did. No, I don't believe so. Mm-mm. Let me tell you something else. It was a young lady. It was a young lady that I met her under different circumstances, right? Why did she tell me her son was murdered around the? I mean, my son was murdered on 107th. Hers was murdered on 108th. She said, "Oh yeah, right there. My son knew your son." I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, when he was coming out the Domino's Pizzas or whatever the pizza place over there, he got shot." And it's since my son, it has been like at least 9 murders. At least 9. It's just sad.
What would you like to see be done,
I
Valencia?
mean,
What?
my thing is this: if you got murders, in that area, as extreme as it is, why y'all ain't put up no cameras somewhere? I mean, aren't you guys trying to resolve these murders? If you got 20 murders that happened on this street, at some point, shouldn't you have put some cameras so you can see something? Don't you want to know something? Only if you're trying to resolve them. I don't see them trying to resolve these murders. I don't. I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? Um, um, it's just sad. The, it's just to me, it's just a sad thing that, and you know what? I want to say blacks, but it ain't just blacks. You know what I'm saying? The day my son got murdered, another lady contacted me. Her son was murdered the same day within the hour. She said to me, she said, I'm contacting you because both our sons was murdered at the same time within an hour. Her son was murdered on Crenshaw in Manchester, coming out of a liquor store. You know what I'm saying? And I was asking her, we was just like Sharon. We continued to talk to each other, and she was just saying that pretty much the same thing. Her son's police report. I think he was 18, 19. She said came out, basically his police report says 19-year-old comes out the liquor store, gunshot wound to the head or something of that. Same thing. I mean, that's it. That's all that you guys can put on there. It's ridiculous, but it is what it is. And, I pray every day that my grandsons receive the years that's entitled for them. The sad thing about it, at one time, you can get an insurance policy for your children, little nothing. Their insurance policies are starting to be very expensive. You know what I'm saying? When I went to the morgue to get my son's items, and it's and I'm talking about downtown morgue, LA downtown. And of course it's a very cold, shadow place. But the guy there, he said mostly everybody's body that's in here are teenagers from the age of 21. No, he said from 25, from 19, he said from 17 to 25. He said, and that's all that's been coming in here is young people. While I was there, it was a young lady that was in there, and she came up to me and she said, are you Arthur's mom? And I said, yeah, I'm Arthur's mom. She said, oh, this is I said, why are you guys here? She said, oh, because my brother was just murdered. She said him and Arthur was real good friends, and she was telling me, she said, you don't remember we came by your house? And this boy lived like in the 30s, somewhere in the 30s. And it was so sad. How the hell do you go to a morgue and run into somebody? You know what I'm saying? It was sad.
That's
It was
crazy.
sad.
That's crazy, Valencia.
Yeah, it was sad. It was very sad. And like I said, I just had a nephew that was murdered. And it's the same thing. He was murdered. 77 Vision was right across the street. They, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what more could it be if the police station is across the street and it's still happening? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is.
Valencia, if there's another woman out there, another mother out there, even a father who's perhaps listening to this interview, and they're unfortunately going through of the pain of losing a son or a daughter or whatnot, what kind of words would you give that person, that mother or that father?
You know, for you to ask me that, it don't even have to be a stranger. I mean, like I said, it's people that I have had to encourage since my son passed, and they had to also walk in the same steps. Like I explained, the only thing, you have to go through the motions. Nothing can fix it. There is no fix. You know what I'm saying? My sister-in-law that her son was murdered, just murdered last year, just came up on a year. And they did find the guy that we're going to court now for to prosecute the guy. I'm asking her, how does that make you feel? It don't make you feel no better. You know what I'm saying? Yes, yes, yes. It's closure. It does give you closure. Like for me, I have no closure because supposedly the guy that murdered my son is in jail for murders of someone else. You know what I'm saying? And that's the rumor. I'll put it that way. That's the rumor. You know, but my thing for me is, if information that I have that's that close, why detectives don't have that? Or why do they not check those leads out? You know what I'm saying? The guys, after they murdered my child, they got on social media and bragged. They bragged on it.
Like this is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, they got on there and they bragged. And you know, for me, I don't believe our police officers do not know these these gang members. They know. They know them. They got gang tasks. They know. But I think sometimes um they're not interested in going through the loops to resolve the case. You know, some of them might have the attitude, let them kill each other up. You know, I don't know. But I know that when there's a lead, that if you're on the streets and you're not a police officer, that you can follow and get some strong information, there's no way on God's green earth that they don't have those same leads. You know what I'm saying? My husband, the one I told you he was murdered, the guy that murdered him, they had arrested him and then they let him go.
What?
They arrested him and then let him go. Because how they were able to arrest him, he basically said that he was kin to us. And because what happened, he started telling the story about what happened. I just shot this guy up at the gas station, blue, blue, blue. Well, the person he was bragging to was a relative of ours. When we reported it to the detectives, they went and got him. And, you know, well, how you know about this and blah, blah, blah. He told them because those are my relatives. That's how I knew the story. Well, that was a lie. It was very simple. All you do is call us and ask us, is that he a relative? No, they let him go. They let the guy go. And then, maybe they had to get more evidence, whatever they had to do. But then they later on, a year later, went back to arrest him. But I'm just saying, you know, you let a murderer out and then you get him a year later. How many more
One
murders?
year later?
A year later.
Oh my! I can only imagine what you were thinking. You must have been going crazy.
Not only that, we had to keep my stepdaughter head out because remember, she was the one that was able to identify the guy because he pulled the gun on her and it didn't go off. So at the time, she was like 12, 13 years old. And we really did not want her to have to go on stand. But the driver was saying the shooter did it, and the shooter was saying the driver did it. So she, she chose and wanted to go on stand to pick the person that shot her daddy. And she said, no, I know who shot my daddy and I can pick him out. So that's how we was able to prosecute this guy. But I'm just saying, that's how we got that, she chose to do it, Had she not wanted to do it or he would have got away with it. It's just sad to me. I don't know. It's too many murders that's unsolved. That's all I know.
Way too many murders. Way too many murders.
Yeah.
Look,
So
Valencia, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, and it was such a pleasure. I really enjoyed
thank
asking you
you.
these questions. I enjoyed hearing your feedback, and I'm not gonna lie, it kind of made me sad. I'm kind of up in my feelings right now because of everything you told me, and I'm very, very sorry, Valencia. But I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for giving me the opportunity to share your story.
Yes, no problem. Thank you so much to want to share my story. And I hope that it would help somebody, or encourage somebody, in a positive way. So I appreciate you asking to hear my story.
Absolutely, Valencia. With that being said, is there anything else that you would like to say? A message, anything that you would like to say?
The only thing that I would like to say that you guys, this has to stop. And senseless people is being murdered. And what's so cold about it is that it's getting at a point to where the murderers is knowing the victim. I'm talking about the families is knowing each other. You know what I'm saying? In other words, these killings is starting to touch homes. You know what I'm saying? You don't know if that's your cousin. You don't know if that's, you know what I'm saying? And people is not realizing that. You know what I'm saying? You especially in LA. You come up in LA after so many years of living in LA. LA is big, but LA is small. You know what I'm saying? And and everybody is starting to it'll be your cousin. You know what I'm saying? It'll be a situation where that's your cousin or that's your relative, or you know what I'm saying? And it's a sad thing. It's just really sad, but it is. And the only thing that I can say is that I my heart goes out to anyone that deals with a family member that has been murdered. It's just the worst thing. And like I said, unfortunate, it's like you said, hurt people. And all these murders is leaving a lot of hurt people. You know what I'm saying? And who knows? Murderers is murdering murderers. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on. So with that being said, I thank you for my story.
Thank you
And
so much, Valencia. My
okay,
heart's with you, and I'm here for you. Thank you.
thank you.